Imagine standing in front of 40,000 screaming people at Madison Square Garden, only for the legendary Beatle beside you to lean in and whisper that the very music you are about to play has just been marked for death. Just months before Leon Russell passed away, he finally broke his silence on a secret he'd kept for 50 years. It wasn't about a tour or a hit song, it was a chilling warning George Harrison whispered to him during the concert for Bangladesh, a warning George claimed would eventually destroy the very soul of music itself, and Leon finally revealed why he was told to never speak of it. To understand the weight of that warning, you have to look at the pressure cooker of August 1st, 1971. The concert for Bangladesh was supposed to be a triumph. The first massive all-star benefit concert in rock history. George Harrison had assembled a supergroup of giants: Ringo Starr, Bob Dylan, Eric Clapton, Billy Preston, and the master of space and time, Leon Russell. But behind the curtain, the atmosphere was thick with dread. The concrete dressing rooms of Madison Square Garden felt like a wake. George was under immense spiritual weight, trying to save millions of starving refugees while feeling an opposing, invisible force actively working to crush the event. Eric Clapton was battling severe addiction and had collapsed before the show, requiring frantic last-minute intervention just to get him onto the stage. The notorious Phil Spector was lurking in the shadows, bringing his volatile energy to the production. George began to realize that the moment they tried to use music as a pure force for spiritual good, something dark and corporate immediately moved in to hijack it. What did George discover backstage in those final frantic hours that completely shattered his belief in the rock revolution? As the house lights began to dim, George pulled Leon Russell into a secluded corner of the backstage area, away from the managers and record executives. Leon, with his long silver hair and sharp eyes, was a man who had seen the ugliest sides of the industry as a top studio musician for years. He knew when a situation was compromised. According to Leon's final confessions, George looked at him with an intensity that was deeply unsettling. He told Leon that by organizing this massive charity event, they had inadvertently shown the global power brokers exactly how much raw, unchecked influence musicians could wield over the masses. George whispered that the corporate machine would never allow this kind of independent power to exist again. He warned Leon that the industry would systematically dismantle the authentic connection between artist and audience, replacing it with a heavily engineered, synthetic control system designed to drain the spiritual essence out of human creativity. George told Leon to never speak of this realization to the press, because the moment they realized the artist knew the game, the trap would shut even faster. For decades, Leon kept that conversation locked away. But then, a shocking piece of evidence emerged from a privately recorded audio tape found in the archives of Oklahoma's church studio, a tape that wasn't supposed to exist. On this hidden tape, recorded during an intimate session late in Leon's life, his voice is frail but deliberate as he recounts the aftermath of that historic night. He reveals that George's warning began to manifest almost immediately after the last applause died down. The initial gate receipts raised nearly $250,000 for relief, but instead of reaching the starving children of Bangladesh, the millions of dollars generated by the live album and concert film were instantly frozen. The Internal Revenue Service and global tax authorities locked the funds in escrow accounts for years, wrapping the humanitarian aid in endless suffocating red tape. George was devastated, watching the financial systems of the world choke the life out of his charity. Leon watched this happen and realized George's warning was not just spiritual paranoia, it was a cold, hard reality. The corporate system had hijacked their good intentions, using bureaucratic blockades to show the musicians who was really in control. Ask yourself, is it just a coincidence that the money was locked up for years? Or was it a deliberate move to freeze the power of independent musicians? Tell me in the comments right now. Would you have walked away from the industry after seeing this happen? The fallout from that night began to tear the supergroup apart. Eric Clapton retreated back into isolation, battling his demons, while Bob Dylan vanished from the public eye once again. And Leon Russell, who was at the absolute peak of his fame, carrying stadium crowds on his back with his unmatched showmanship, made a sudden, baffling decision. He began to systematically dismantle his own career. At the height of his commercial viability, Leon walked away from the massive major labels. He stopped chasing the mainstream charts and began releasing experimental, deeply personal music under his own independent label, Shelter Records, and later Paradise Records. He chose obscurity over the polished, synthetic machine that George had warned him about. The industry executives thought Leon had lost his mind. But in reality, he was running from the very trap George Harrison had whispered about in the dark corners of Madison Square Garden. But the machine did not stop. As the late 70s and 80s rolled in, Leon watched the music industry transform exactly the way George had predicted. Synthesizers and drum machines began to replace human musicians in the studio. Major corporate conglomerates bought up independent record labels, consolidating the entire music landscape into a handful of boardrooms. The raw, unpredictable spiritual force of the 60s and 70s rock movement was systematically sanitized, packaged, and sold back to the public as sterile, highly controlled consumer products. Tell me in the comments right now, did the music industry lose its soul naturally over time, or was it a calculated execution designed to prevent another cultural revolution like the one in 1971. By the time the 21st century arrived, Leon Russell was living in near total obscurity. The man who had played on records for Frank Sinatra, the Beach Boys, and the Rolling Stones was playing small, half-empty clubs, struggling with severe health issues, including brain fluid leaks and heart failure. Yet he refused to return to the corporate fold. It was only when Elton John, a longtime disciple of Leon's piano-pounding style, sought him out in 2010 to record the collaborative album The Union, that Leon was brought back into the spotlight. It was during this final period of his life, facing his own mortality, that Leon began to reflect deeply on the secrets he had carried for half a century. In his final interviews and private conversations with close confidants, Leon began dropping cryptic clues about his past. He spoke of the deep spiritual debt he owed to George Harrison, a man he described as a true prophet who saw the future of the world clearly. Leon explained that George had foreseen a time when artificiality would completely dominate human expression, a time when artists would no longer write from their souls, but would instead feed algorithms designed to keep the public pacified. Leon warned that we were entering that dark era now, where the music we listen to is no longer a tool for liberation, but a sophisticated mechanism of distraction. But the most chilling part of Leon's final confession was not what George predicted would happen to the music. It was his warning about what would happen to those who tried to expose the machinery behind it. George had told Leon that the system protects itself by making the truth-tellers look unstable, driving them to the fringes of society until their voices are completely neutralized. Leon confessed that his own decades-long exile from the mainstream was the only way he could keep his sanity and his soul intact. He had to become a ghost in order to remain free. Ask yourself, if you realize the path to ultimate fame required you to surrender your spiritual independence, would you have the courage to walk away into the dark like Leon did? Leon Russell passed away peacefully in his sleep on November 13, 2016, leaving behind a towering musical legacy and a quiet, haunting mystery. The concert for Bangladesh is remembered today as a beautiful moment of human solidarity, but beneath the soaring slide guitar of George Harrison and the thundering piano of Leon Russell lies a hidden history of spiritual warfare. A warning passed from one musical genius to another in the shadows of Madison Square Garden, predicting the very world we live in today. Was George Harrison right? Has the soul of music been completely replaced by a corporate algorithm? Or is there still a spark of that old raw magic waiting to be rediscovered? If this journey into the hidden history of rock and roll resonated with you, consider subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into the secrets the industry tried to bury. Thank you for listening, and tell me, what do you think they were really trying to protect?